Hey guys, I'm here with Dan to talk about UFC 313 here on this fine National Women's Day. Shout out to all the women out there on behalf of LeBron James. Dan, how you doing today?
Chama, let's fucking do it, dude. I'm ready to watch. I'm ready
All
to watch.
right. So
money.
my typical method would be to just go through the fights one by one. Do you want to go through the ranges, or do you want to go from the bottom of the card to the top?
Let's go from bottom to top and just go.
All right. We're just gonna get right into it, rather than the usual bullshitting I like to do. So first fight on the card is gonna be Jordan Santos against Ozzy Diaz. Diaz coming in at a plus 164 underdog. Santos a minus 198 ish favorite. Santos's inside the distance number is plus 110. Diaz plus 300. I'm sure you have some great thoughts on this. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, Ozzy Diaz is probably one of my favorite underdogs on the slate. Just as he's going to be really low owned, at least from what we're projecting at 14%. So super high upside, but like zero floor. Like he's probably Jordan Santos hasn't been the most prolific finisher as of late. He's gone to 3 straight decisions. He was like a much better finisher on a regional scene, but he hasn't really shown it. This is like a great matchup for him to get back on track with get back in like the knockout column, as it were. He's super high upside as well, but I mean, there's obvious bust risk in this fight if it gets anywhere outside of like the first 2 rounds. But if you get like an early round knockout, this is going to contend really strongly for the optimal. So they're going to be 2 of my highest owned guys on the slate, even though like it's pretty low level. So there's definitely like infinite downside here, but super high upside. It's early in the card, so if it busts, it'll ruin your night.
Yeah, you've got Diaz like around like 14-15% that the market's going to take him. That seems like crazy low to me for a 300 inside the distance number. Like you're looking at probably based on his pricing, a 25 to 30% chance of him being optimal, maybe a little higher. And if the market's only going to take him 14-15, like I'm very interested in Diaz. Like he's close to, a lot of the lineups that I was playing around with for the 2K buy-in and 1K buy-in, the higher stake stuff. Diaz is in the mix, and that's not to knock anything on Santos. It's just, there's only 2 or 3 options that I really view as being viable down there for high stakes. And he's one of them. But again, Santos, 50-50 to get a knockout or finish right off the rip. So I really like this fight for DFS. I'm going to have it owned like 70%, maybe like 35% on both guys, something like that.
That's around where I'm at for MMA as well. Like Ozzy Diaz, I'm pushing kind of up towards 30. Santos, I've got in the 40s right now. So I'll be super heavy on this fight. First fight of the night. So we know that like depresses ownership sometimes as well. That might be having something.
People don't want to be dead off the rip.
Well, yeah, and people just also, I think the thing with Diaz is like he's super fragile. Like his durability is non-existent. The most likely outcome is Santos finishes him early, even though he hasn't been much of a finisher. And people just don't want to play someone who is highly likely to just get them like a 0.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's 50-50 that Diaz is going to get a 0. So,
yeah, I mean, it's probably even more likely than that he gets a 0. But like for the price and the ownership, like super high upside play on this slate.
I like that. I like this fight a lot. So, yeah, first one.
The thing about this slate is there's only 4 9K fighters, and only 2 of them are super expensive. And basically every fighter on this card is like a knockout or bust. Like, say for someone like Josh Van, like they're basically all knockout or bust fighters. So salary is kind of no object here in a way, just because anybody in the top end, like they all have a very legitimate path to failure. Even in like, especially because if a lot of these guys and girls are going to decision, like they're not going to score well.
Yeah. Hey, listen, this is 100% accurate. Henry Siegel or Seagal, however you pronounce it. I'm going to go with Seagal because it's MMA and Steven.
Henry, what's up, man?
Oh, you know him?
Yeah, I think so.
That's awesome. No, but I totally agree with you on all fronts there. So we'll move on to the next fight. We
Yeah.
got, let's see, going from the bottom to the top of the card, Chris Gutierrez and John Castaneda. A bit of a coin flip here, minus 112 on Castaneda, minus 108 on Chris Gutierrez. This was a bit of a weird line to me because, you know, eyeballing it and knowing both of these guys, I would have assumed that Gutierrez was favored, and the line has kind of moved in his direction. Both guys are getting about plus 500 inside the distance, so it's looking like it might be a decision. Are you targeting either one of these guys, or do you really like either one as a bet?
Not really. I mean, if I have to choose a bet, I'm on the Gutierrez side, just because I think Castaneda, it might be overvaluing the fact that Castaneda throws just like a little bit more offense. But you know, Gutierrez obviously has the back class, has fought much higher level competition and won. So like you said, it's a coin flip. And for DFS, I'm like, this is going to be one of the lower owned fight, probably the lowest owned like fight on the slate. And I still am probably going to come in under that, even because neither of these guys really produce enough offense to make me super interested. Like, they just don't score well in decisions. And this is most likely going to decision. On the like Castaneda probably has a little more upside just because he has been leaning into his wrestling just a little bit more, but there are just so many options in this range that are so much better. Like, the mid range is kind of loaded.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. My target numbers for this fight were between 10 and 12% on both these guys. I really do like Gutierrez as a bet because I think that line minus 108 is a bit off. But for DFS, this fight really does not interest me. Yeah, I'm going to have the fight in general will be, I'll have 25% or less. I'm really not interested in getting that exposed to it. It would take some type of fluky finish to kind of get there. Probably, you know, I don't know, somebody getting hit with a shot early or something.
Yeah. But like that's why you sprinkle in, like, I'm also around 12% on both of these guys. And it's just like, there's randomness in cage fighting, you know, anybody can get knocked out. Anybody can get injured. So you just want to protect yourself a little bit, especially if you're playing 150.
Yep. Totally agree. All right. Next up, we got Myron Santos against Francis Marshall. Santos coming in at a minus 278 favorite with a plus 200 to win inside the distance number. Francis Marshall coming back at 225 with a plus 700 inside the distance number, but a bit more wrestling upside. What do you think about Marshall and Santos?
I'm not really all that interested in Marshall. I mean, he does theoretically on paper have wrestling upside, but he hasn't been able to get his wrestling going at all really lately. He's had trouble taking people down. Once he gets them down, he's not really racking up any kind of control. He's young. He's like 25. So like that, around that age, you should see improvement every time you see them. So there definitely is a world where he just comes in like the best version we've ever seen of him, and he's able to like get the takedowns, execute his wrestling and grappling heavy game plan, and that should smash on DraftKings. Like, wrestling and grappling score very well on DraftKings. So he's interesting from like a theoretical perspective, but based on what we've seen so far, I think Santos is going to be able to stop the takedowns, going to be able to keep it on the feet. And if it stays on the feet, like, Marshall is going to be really outmatched. So I think Santos is super live to find a finish here. He's going to be one of my higher owned options. Like, his ITD line is not that great. What is it? Like, compared to the people around him, it's plus 165, which is like fine in a vacuum. But at 9,200, you generally want better. And even in a pretty weak, like, upper range this week, he's still on the low end. But with that is going to come low ownership. He's going to be probably around like high teens, low 20s. And so everybody else up there is going to be catching almost 40%. So I like getting different up top with Santos.
You know, I certainly like Santos's upside a bit more than Mauricio Ruffy, who is 200 more. But yeah, I mean, there's only really four options. The issue with Santos is you're looking at Carlos Leal minus 150 to inside the distance, Ruffy, who I just described, low volume, but also minus 150 to finish, and then Blades, who's a coin flip to just win in 20 seconds. So, you know, it's hard to rationalize playing Santos, and so I think that'll really depress his ownership. and I've got him. I'm nearing 30% on him, so I really like him as a DFS option. Just to touch on Marshall, you spoke about how at the top end there's kind of that gap between 8,800 and 9,100 due to some withdrawals and whatnot. Same thing exists at the bottom. So you're looking at Morono, Bobby Green, Marshall, and Kuniev, and then it's all the way up to 7,400. So Marshall could be in a situation where he just has to win to be optimal. And so at plus 225, that's a better number than you're getting on Kuniev, Bobby Green at 360, Morono at 500. So I've got a little more interest in Marshall than you, but still not like a ton, especially because Kuniev actually has finishing upside and Marshall does not.
When I first broke this down, I had like very little interest in Marshall, but I'm getting around where you are as well. Like I've got 18% of him right now. So, you got to bake in, like I could just be wrong about this guy and about this matchup. Like it's like striker versus wrestler. So it's like a lot of times in these matchups, like clash of styles, like the winner seems obvious in hindsight. It's like, oh wow, he really like kicked his ass in the wrestling. That could happen. Again, he's young. He should be getting better every time you see him. So I don't mind getting to Marshall. And like you said, he's really, really cheap.
Yeah. And 7K.
Probably a much better play than Green or Morono.
Right. And it's like if Leal, Ruffy, and Blades all get a finish, you're going to have to dig somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we got the aforementioned Carlos Leal Miranda fighting against Alex Morono. Miranda coming in at a fresh minus 700 and Morono at plus 500. Leal minus 150 to get a finish. Morono at plus 1,000. This really seems like he's going to fucking destroy him. I assume you agree with me.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope so. Even if he does, I mean, like we said, it's a really weak top range. So 9,600 on this slate is not necessarily not the same as 9,600 on most of the other slates where we have a fighter this expensive. So my initial runs, I was getting like 80% of Leal, just like running it without any editing, without any randomness, whatever. So yeah, I mean, I like Leal a lot here. I really don't like Morono at all. I think outside of, maybe he can scrape out like a competitive decision. It's not completely impossible and be useful down there. So I'm going to play like 5% of him, which is where he's projecting to come in. But he's like the classic ruin your night guy who like wins a decision and is optimal with a 65 and he's 5% and you've got 5%.
Or he loses, then he's optimal.
Yeah, right. But yeah, Leal's got the best finishing upside on the slate, even if it's kind of like lackluster in comparison to what we usually see. So I think you got to play him. I mean, he's coming in at like 30s. I'm going to have about that, maybe a little bit more, just because my stuff likes him so much.
Yeah. I just want to touch on this. This is an Aperol Spritz, not a wine cooler. Thank you. It's National Women's Day. Come on. But no, as far as Leal, I'm in the 40s. I think there's very, especially in the higher stakes stuff, there's very little downside. Morono's risk of ending this fight early is basically non-existent, and Leal could easily just flatline him right off the rip.
He could also just beat the shit out of him for
right. So we spoke about this earlier, and I was trying to get Leal and Ruffy into my higher stakes team, and it just did not make a ton of sense to play any lineup where Leal was not in it. I think if you're playing any kind of single entry, big stakes stuff, you need to be playing Leal because there's no fucking downside. I think his floor is like fucking 90.
I was looking at the wrong thing before when I said I was going to be about even. I'm getting him at like 50%.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be slamming.
Yeah. He's a lot higher volume than Ruffy. I prefer Leal at the top for sure.
We'll get to Ruffy. Ruffy, that's like.
It's tough. We'll talk about that when we get to it. It's tough. The next fight is we got Armen Petrosian, JSU's boy, coming in at minus 142 against Bruno Pereira, coming in at plus 114 on DraftKings. But Petrosian plus 200 to win inside the distance, whereas Pereira as the dog is plus 150. which makes him a bit of an appetizing DFS option. Do you agree with me that Bruno Ferreira is a good pick for DFS?
Yeah, I'm getting like 40% of Pereira. Like the odds imply he finds a finish like 40% of the time. So, you know, if he's going to be 30% owned, he probably comes in higher with an inside the distance number like that. But yeah, I'm slamming him. Petrosian, I'm obviously less interested in, but there's some validity to playing him in this matchup specifically, just because Ferreira, you know, he comes out, he kind of like sells out for the finish early and will just like try to take your head off and throw these power shots, but he can definitely gas. So Petrosian, I could see maybe end of round 2 could get a finish, and that might be good enough at 8,600. Like, because like I said, like the top range is kind of most of these guys are just like finish or bust, and if like they could easily fail, So like something in the 80s or low 90s for Petrosian in like a second round finish, like that could be viable.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, I like both sides of this fight. I agree with you. Mostly because Ferreira is going to put he's going to put himself out there, and that makes you liable to, you know, have it come back at you.
Someone's
so I'm definitely, yeah. So I'm definitely playing this fight 65-70%, probably between 35 and 40 on Ferreira. He's in my optimal team, but I did bet on Petrosian because I do see Ferreira gassing out if he does not get that finish. And so I'm playing Petrosian in the mid-high 20s, which should be fairly over market. So I do like both sides of this fight. And I think that one side will get a finish one way or another.
I've got Petrosian around like the mid-20s projected ownership.
That'll be way over, I think.
Yeah, it seems a little high. I'm in my stuff. I still have to like do a little bit of editing. I'm only getting like 15% Petrosian just because he really doesn't.
It probably wants Jordan Santos.
What's that?
It probably wants Jordan Santos. It kept giving me a lot of him.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I'm probably flattening it out a little bit, but just, I mean, obviously Jordan Santos is the much higher upside play between the two.
Yep. All right, next we got, oh man, this might be my favorite fight on the card. Joshua Van fighting Ray Saruya. Van coming in at a -166. Saruya coming in at +140. Saruya +450 to finish inside the distance, which to me seems kind of high. And Van coming back at 240 to win inside the distance. I really like Saruya. He's in my core. I'm playing him in all the high stakes contests. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I love Saruya as a dog. I was actually surprised that his inside the distance number was like +425.
Seems like a big sub risk.
Yeah, exactly. I posted in the MMA chat earlier in the week, Saruya was like on DraftKings was like +800 to win by sub. I was like, this is his most likely path to victory. And I think he has a really good shot here, mostly because Josh Van, his defensive wrestling and grappling is definitely the weakest part of his game. And he's a bit of a slow starter. So it's like, if Saruya is able to get the wrestling and grappling going early, I think Van is going to, like, when they're dry, when they're fresh, when he's still kind of building into the fight.
When they're dry.
When they're dry, yeah, man. It's like once they
you got to just get it in there when they're dry.
Happy National Women's Day. But no. Yeah, I think Saruya's got like a really good shot here. He's got a super high upside style. Like, he may gas in the third round, and that's when Josh Van is going to be building. So it's very much like it's the way it's probably going to play out is either Saruya early or Van late. And Van can still get there even with a late finish or a decision, just because he throws.
We've seen him do it.
Yeah, he just throws crazy volume despite like being a bit of a slow starter. So it's a super high upside matchup on both sides. I'm gonna have to force Van a bit because my stuff doesn't really like him, the finishing upside for the price. But yeah, I'm gonna be playing like a moderate amount of Van and a ton of Saruya at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of Van in this matchup, just because, you know, I think that, you know, you spoke about his volume and how that's often how he gets to these big scores is by throwing tons of punches. But if he gets held down for an entire round, that severely limits his upside with volume, even if he gets a finish toward the end. So I'm definitely not as interested in him as I am as in Santos and like a Curtis Blades, for instance, as the next guy up. And that's infinite upside right there. So, I don't really like Van. I'm probably going to play him 15 to 20%, but not huge. Saruya at 7,400, a lot more appealing. The wrestling upside's there, the finishing upside's there on the ground. I'm playing 25 to 30%. I think that he's a similar play in my mind to, I'm going to play him a similar amount to Ozzy Diaz, but less than Bruno Ferreira.
Yeah, same. I have like 26% Saruya right now. How much Van? I've got like 15% Van.
But I do agree. The bet is Saruya by sub.
Van's a bit of a scary fan. Oh, that's been bet down to 650 now as well.
No, I still think 650 is pretty good.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I'm totally blanking right here. Whatever, we can just move on. Oh, Van, Van, I've got like projected to be 33% owned. He probably comes in higher, honestly. Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
People do love him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the slate locks and we flip over and like he's 40-something% owned, and we're all like, okay, this is the fight.
This is it. Yeah.
This whole slate comes down.
And then Saruya holds him down for the first round. He gets 0 and he still scores 120.
It was like I had a terrible week last week because of Hyder Emil. Like, I just didn't get to him in any meaningful way, and he absolutely smashed, and he came in like close to 40% owned, and just
that was insane. I got destroyed too. I could not believe how high owned he was.
It was also like, I think maybe the third straight week where there was no 5-rounder in the optimal. So like,
yep,
that's been brutal
with fucking flyweights.
Yeah, it's just been extreme, like just the nut low runouts. It's like Cop with the weird.
Well, maybe we get low ownership on Pereira. Not really, but
he's always owned, man.
All right,
I drive it up. I play so much of him.
We have this is actually my number one favorite DFS play of the slate. In the next fight, we got Curtis Blades coming in at -340 against Rizvan Kuniev at +270. Blades is even money to get a finish. Kuniev at +500. The big boy is getting in the cage and swinging some meat around. Who do you like? Who do you like in this fight and why?
I mean, I'm picking Blades, right? And obviously he's got massive upside. I feel like when I wrote this one up, I just talked a lot of shit about Blades and the fact that he just doesn't wrestle anymore. Like, like I said,
Dana told him he was going to cut him if he kept wrestling.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, he fights like it. I don't know. I have some interest in Kuniev. He rates out really well for me. I'm obviously going to be playing a ton of Blades because the wrestling upside, should he choose to do it, I think, is obviously there. But yeah, I mean, this inside the distance number for the price is just like, it's impossible to ignore. Like, you have to play it. Kuniev on the other side, he's been pretty durable. He's got pretty good wrestling. I think he's live to find Blades' chin. Like, Blades has not been the most durable guy going for a little while now. So I think both sides of this fight are super interesting. Of course, like, the risk with heavyweights is always that, and especially when you've got wrestler versus wrestler, right? It's like sometimes they just neutralize each other. Like, nobody can get any takedowns. No one can control the other person. So
if that happens, Blades, I think, will kill him.
What happens
if they stay on their feet?
Right, yeah. Kuniev likes to pressure forward and that's like back people up against the cage and then wants to like take you down and then just kind of like wrestle and grapple the shit out of you.
And we saw Blades get a finish on Jailton Almeida from the cage
after getting taken down 9 times in the first round. That was
so he's got power in his hands, even though he's a wrestler. Blades is my favorite DFS play. I think he gets this one done quickly. But you're right. You can't really ignore Kuniev at the bottom, especially with the gap between 7,400 and 7,100. I'm going to be playing him 15 to 20%, but Blades in the upper 30s. One thing I want to stress about playing Kuniev is, yes, he is very liable to, score a high number if he wins, as opposed to Francis Marshall, Bobby Green, and Morono. But there is very little upside in terms of decision win and scoring well enough to be optimal in a loss, whereas Saruya, Marshall, and Bobby, especially, I think you can you can make that argument for them. So despite his numbers being a little better as far as scoring over 100 points, the odds that he's optimal if he doesn't do that are 0. So yeah, I have him a little less than I do Marshall, as at least right now.
Yeah, let's see how this. I've got like 18% Kuniev.
Yeah, that sounds right.
14.
I think like my 18 555 lineups, I think I have him twice. So that checks out. All right. Next up, we have the aforementioned Bobby King Green against Mauricio Rufy. It's Rufy, right?
I think it's Rufy, yeah.
Rufy coming in at minus 470. What the fuck is that number? Bobby Green at plus 360. Bobby Green up to plus 1,100 to finish inside the distance, which, again, crazy. Mauricio Rufy coming back at minus 150. Some rather wide lines here. I know that you are a long-time Bobby Green fanatic. How do you feel about his chances in this one?
I don't like him, man. Bobby Green, he's got clear durability issues at this point. Rufy's super powerful striker. It's just that Bobby Green's like whole defensive game plan is sort of predicated, or like, his whole sort of approach is he keeps his hands low so you can't see where the strikes are coming from. But, he's obviously not able to defend himself with his hands if they're down at his waist.
It works against wrestlers.
Yeah, he tries to use in the past, he was really effective at using just like movement and head movement. But now, he's getting a little older. He's been brutally knocked out a few times. He's just slowing down, man. So I think if he tries to go in there and just sort of like move his head and defend in that way, like he's going to get wrecked. The question is like, can he survive into later rounds? Because I think Rufy with like a second round, if you could get like a nut low run out, like early second round finish, I don't think he'll be optimal then unless everybody else busts. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to play some Bobby Green just because I think he is the much more talented striker. He's obviously got way more experience. So I think he's live in a decision if he can stay safe. Like, who was it? Rufy just fought James Yontop and got outstruck 2-1.
Yontop.
He landed the more damaging shots, and like Yontop, to his credit, like the best part of his game is that he's tough and can take a beating. I don't know if Bobby Green can quite do that.
Not anymore.
I can definitely see a world where if he can stay safe, like he can definitely outstrike him.
I can see Bobby. I bet Bobby Green at this 360 number. I think it's high for Rufy not being an extreme volume guy. He's kind of got to catch him. And, if it is some Adesanya, Yoel Romero bullshit where they sit there and just dance in circles, you never know what the judges are going to do. And I like Bobby's jabbing and his ability to keep his distance. I don't really have a ton of interest in Bobby for DFS, and Rufy's upside is obviously very high because Bobby's chin is probably dusted.
Yeah.
But, that 360 number is just popping out to me like a sore thumb. Like I really like Bobby on the money line, or by decision. You can get even higher number. But, I think people are aware he's not getting a finish with that line coming up to 1,100. As far as Rufy for DFS, I'm coming in the mid low 30s. Is that about where you were at?
Yeah, that's what I'm at too.
You can't fade it, as much as I hate him and I hate the fighting nerds, all of them. And we'll fade them every fight from here to the end.
You were on Ricardo Ramos hard last week.
Ricardo Ramos is a converted fighting nerd. Not like the OG fight. Like I think of fighting nerds, I think of Caio Borralho, and I'm like, no. So, but the number one thing with Bobby Green that blew my fucking mind was that Bobby King Green, it wasn't his nickname King. It was his middle name was literally fucking King.
Oh, okay. I had no idea.
And so he changed his name from Bobby King Green to King Bobby Green.
That's legit. I feel bad that I haven't been calling him King Green this whole time. I've been misnaming him.
Well, Bobby's still in his name.
Is it?
He's King Bobby Green now.
Oh, he just like flipped his middle name.
He flipped his first name and his middle name.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, I guess you wouldn't be like King Green.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So he just flipped his first name and his middle name.
Nice.
You know, it's like, you know, yeah. It's like when women, you know, they get married and they make their last name their middle name. He did that with his first name.
Yeah, I mean, God, that getting finished by Jalen Turner, and I think it was Kerry Hatley, just let Turner like pound his head into the canvas well after he was knocked out. That was so hard to watch, man. I think that definitely.
That's like how Anthony Smith got fucked. The Glover Teixeira fight, like these refs end guys' careers, and there's no like retribution for it.
Yeah, it's fucked up, man. Yeah, I think his chin is dust. He's projecting to come in at like 16%. Might be projecting him a little bit high. I'm getting him at like 10%, just because, you know, he could win a decision and be useful at 6,800.
That's why like he has win a decision and be optimal upside, or lose a decision and be optimal upside, as opposed to Kuniev, who really doesn't.
I don't really think we're gonna have a loser in the optimal.
You don't, even if you get Leal, Rufy, and Blades all with 120.
A loser.
There's just too many good guys down bottom. Pereira, Diaz, Sarria, Lemos is live. Gaethje, I guess, is live.
Yeah, I think you would just need like the entire bottom range to all. You would need the whole top range to smash, and well, I guess those are correlated, but yeah, not the most likely outcome. I don't think. I think we're like pretty live to have a solo winner tonight as well, just because ownership's
13 fights or 12, 13.
Yeah, God, it's been a while since. I think it's 12, but I think it's been a while since we've even had 12.
Yeah,
like, we had 10 the week before, 11 the week before that. So these are much more fun to build.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed building this week a lot more than I did last week for sure, which was the worst ever.
Yeah, I just this week it was just a matter of uploading my projections and then just kind of like smoothing out in some spots, like, you know, when I run my stuff, just whatever. Josh Van, I get like 8% of, so it's like, you know, got to artificially boost him, shit like that. But yeah, for the most part, the kind of like original structure of what my stuff spit out, I'm really happy with.
Yeah, no, usually most weeks I'm running it 50 or 60 times. This week I think I ran it 4.
Oh,
because
shit.
I was like, okay, this looks right.
I'm probably still gonna go run it like 50 more times. I'll probably just because sitting here up until lock, like fine tuning shit. But
yeah, you're the only guy I know that's uploading MMA with 30 seconds to go, like it's fucking basketball.
I upload probably no less than like 30 files. It's really stupid.
Yeah, no, you go and upload it every time.
Oh yeah.
Oh no,
I'm not leaving, like, you know. When I'll get something that I like, and then I'll upload it, and then I'll just keep, you know, let's keep tweaking it, fine tuning it, upload.
I think the answer to this question is green. I assume you agree with me.
Yeah, green throws way more striking volume. Like
Morono doesn't do a whole lot of anything in there.
Doesn't do much. You know, he just is not an urgent finisher. Like, he doesn't care about getting a finish. He's like totally content to just kind of stand there and point fight.
Yeah.
I think his last finish was it was kind of recently. It was like 2023 versus Tim Means. But, you know, it's a guillotine. That kind of.
I was going to say, I thought it was a guillotine on the top of my head.
Yeah. I mean, if it comes to him, then like great. But it's not something that he's actively pursuing. So
yeah, he would rather lose than chase a finish and get knocked out.
Yeah, FK saying Marshall could outscore both of them in a loss too. Yeah, I mean, if he can get his wrestling going at all.
Yeah, if he has one round of good wrestling.
Yeah, could definitely see that. I still just don't think we see a loser in the optimal.
Yeah, it's not particularly likely, but I know Tony loves it. So
yeah, I mean, it makes if that's what you need to tell yourself to play some of these options at the bottom, like that's fine. It's
whatever you need to tell yourself to play those risky guys at the bottom, fucking do it.
Yeah, exactly. So
all right,
that reasoning.
All right, proceeding to the rest of the main card, we got Happy National Women's Day. Amanda Lemos and Yasmin Lucindo. Yasmin Lucindo coming in at minus 135. Lemos coming back at plus 114. Both fighters around plus 400 to get a finish. I know I have a strong opinion on this fight, and I think you agree with me, so let's go ahead and hear it.
Yeah, Yasmin Lucindo, dude. And I think that she's actually a really solid DFS play. I think she's going to come in under owned. Like back on the regional scene, she used to just take girls down and ground and pound the shit out of them and have like just would throw way more volume. Seemed to like mix the martial arts a lot better. She's been kind of like matchup to matchup, a little one dimensional. It's like either I'm going to lean into the wrestling grappling or I'm going to do.
She listens to her coach too much, I think. Like she doesn't like improvise.
Yeah. I mean, she's the youngest woman in the UFC. I think she's only 22 years old and she already has like a good amount of experience. I think we're like yet to see what she's capable of in the UFC. And this seems like the perfect matchup for her to hit her ceiling. Like Amanda Lemos, she's a super dangerous striker. She's got some of the best power in the division, but her wrestling and grappling defense is terrible. And she's practically helpless off of her back. Like you saw it in the Zhang Wei Li fight. You saw it against Jandiroba where she just got arm barred. Like I talk about it all the time, how the arm bar is like one of the most elementary submissions that exists. And like, if you're getting caught in arm bars, that's just really not a good indicator for your grappling skill. So I think she's going to be I think Lucindo is going to be able to take her down and just impose her will. And if she does that, we know like women's MMA also the scoring is a bit more lenient on like what counts as a significant strike. So yeah, man, like I think Lucindo is potentially a smash play here.
Yeah, Lucindo is one of my favorite bets on the card at minus 135. I'm not particularly interested in betting the finish, but I think she could score a fuck ton even without finishing. And so I definitely don't like. I think a lot of people will overlook her in that range in between Rafael Fiziev and Pereira. She's more expensive than Pereira. Right between that and Santos and Petrosian. I think she may get lost in the shuffle a little bit and come in maybe like high single digits ownership. Could be wrong.
I was taking, I have her projected at like 20%. Does that seem high to you?
Yeah. I mean, to me, like I'm playing her 20 like ish, and I'm thinking that's gonna be over.
She like the more I think about it, she likely comes in like mid-teens, within the acceptable like margin of error.
She definitely, I think more and more people are catching on to you beating the drum that they score women's MMA so easy that, you kind of have to not necessarily ignore, but take with a grain of salt using the inside the distance numbers as a calculator for how many points they're going to score, because they could just end up with a fuck ton and you don't know where the fuck it came from.
Yeah, so, it's like they get more credit for offense. Like they just score more leniently. This is what it comes down to.
So I agree. I like Lucindo for DFS and as a bet, but Lemos I don't hate it for DFS down there.
Power, she can find Lucindo's chin round one. And
she's cheaper than Justin Gaethje, and she's a better play than Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, I think I agree there.
So.
I'm getting we'll get there, but I'm getting like next to no Gaethje. And I think instead of bumping it like I usually would to kind of like flatten things out, I think I'm just going to rock with like next to no Gaethje.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll talk about the Gaethje fight when we get there, but Lemos I see as a better play than Gaethje. She's got roughly the same chance to win as Bruno Ferreira. So if he busts and Gaethje ends up in the morgue like we expect, Lemos could end up being, high upside down there.
Yeah, I have her projected at 20% too, which is another one where
I'll be over that. I'll be over on Lemos.
Really?
I've got her like 27, 28 right now.
Okay, yeah. I'm actually not getting much Lemos at all, which I'm kind of fine with, just because I think Lucindo wins, obviously.
Because you don't support National Women's Day.
I do support National Women. I'm supporting a woman.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
I mean, dude, also you got me. No, I'm not a lib. I'm a communist, actually.
Yeah. This is a communist show.
I don't really fuck with libs. But back to the fight. Yeah, I mean, let's bust out the age model too. Like Lucindo is actually 23.
My age model.
Yeah, Lemos is 37. That's tough, man. That's tough. Last thing to go is power. So she's got knockout upside, but not really much else. And she's going to be really overmatched on the mat. I think Lucindo's going to be able to get her there too, if she chooses to. Like you never fucking know. Lucindo might go in there and just decide to stand and strike with her, and that's
it's dumb, but I want it.
Upside case
no, I do like. Usually, I'm not too excited for these mid card women's fights, but I think this would be a good one.
Yeah, I think there's I think we have a better chance of getting a finish here than the odds entail.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we got my man Ignacio Bahamondes against Jalen Turner. Bahamondes moving to favorite at -125. Jalen Turner, the tarantula, coming back at +105. Jalen Turner is at +175 to win inside the distance, and Bahamondes at +200. Two guys with skinny dudes with some length. What do you this is the opposite of the meat slapping. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, this one was a little weird to me at first, just because Jalen Turner opened as like a 2-1 favorite, and then this immediately got bet down to a coin flip, which I think is fair. Actually,
age model.
The more I look, what's that?
Age model?
Age model? No.
No. Is it?
I don't know. Turner's like 2 years older.
Okay.
The thing is like, I think Bahamondes just has more paths to win. Like he doesn't have as good of an inside the distance number, but I also think that number is probably a little bigger than it should be, because coming off like 2 performance of the night bonus type knockouts. Like he obviously has finishing upside, and Turner is like not exactly been the most well-conditioned guy going. Like he can definitely be got. So, Bahamondes, tons of finishing upside, probably has more like win equity in a decision, because Turner, I have like serious concerns about Turner in the 3rd round. Like if he doesn't find a finish early, he's probably dust.
Well, we saw what happened against Moicano. I mean,
dude, that was like the most tilting shit ever. Just like
we had to watch it in person.
Yeah, I know, dude.
I was on the shitter when that hapappened.
Oh,
I missed that whole round.
I was pissed, dude. I was so mad. Adrian was like, "Yo, you need to chill out, man. Like, it's not that serious." I was like, "You fucking had him," because I had a shitload of Turner, and I basically like faded Moicano. So that
was not great financially.
No, not at all.
I agree with you a lot. I think Bahamondes is very, very difficult to touch, and even though Turner's got the distance and he hasn't really fought anybody that tall, I don't see Turner getting within range to do any real damage to him. And so despite the kind of low inside the distance numbers, I think that it's kind of going to be them dancing in a circle with Bahamondes winning a boring decision. That's at least how I see it. And
if you think that,
yeah, I'm not like, I think both guys end up pretty high owned ish, especially with Castaneda and Gutierrez being in between them and not being very interesting. So for a lot of the builds, you kind of have to go there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I'm going to play them both like low 20s, I think. But I'm betting Bahamondes pretty big.
I've got them both high 20s. And I didn't have to like really touch anything to make that happen. So I saw that. I was like, I'm happy with that. There is a lot of downside risk here, though, in a decision, like, which is fully on the table. It's like 60% to end inside the distance. Not looking to take a big stand on either guy or on the fight in general. It's like I'm happy.
For DFS, yeah.
Yeah, like, they're 33 and 31% respectively. So I'm down to come in right around there. Maybe a little lower.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got the late replacement Rafael Fiziev coming in against Justin Gaethje, who probably has Alzheimer's after fighting Max Holloway. Fiziev coming in at -162, Gaethje +136, Gaethje +320 to win inside the distance. Fiziev coming in at +180. This is a rematch from a fight a couple years ago where Fiziev dominated before gassing hard and getting knocked out, I think, or else it went to a decision. He lost. Gaethje ended up winning, but Gaethje ended up winning after getting dominated for a while.
My mistake.
And Fiziev was probably like -200 in that one, and now we're getting 162. And he's been kind of inactive since then, whereas Gaethje has gotten the shit beat out of him by Max Holloway and then had surgery. So some pretty big physical differences there for him. You just spoke on how you didn't think you were going to have a lot of Gaethje. Is that still how you feel?
Yeah, I mean, for the price, his finishing odds are really poor. I think he loses. Physique, I mean, this thing is going to play out entirely on the feet. It's going to be a banger. All Gaethje fights are. I just don't. I think it's legit to have serious concerns about Gaethje's chin after the knockout he sustained, like at the hands of Max Holloway. Like
he's had so many. He's taken so many shots.
He's been in so many wars. He's old, man. He's like 30. 36, 38, 36. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's old.
He's still in his 20s, right?
He is 32.
30. Oh, never mind.
But it's like, yeah, Gaethje's coming off of a brutal knockout loss. Fiziev is coming back from like a lower body injury. So I'm less concerned about his durability. Obviously, he's the better striker. I think he potentially just puts Gaethje's lights out early.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it plays out similarly to the first fight, except Gaethje goes down this time.
Yeah, and I mean, Fiziev is only going to be around 24% is where I have him. I'm getting almost double that.
Oh, you're playing like almost 50.
No, it's like 40s.
Oh, right.
I might bring it down a little bit, but like I think he's got some of the highest upside at like pretty mid ownership.
Yeah, I mean, Fiziev, being the striking coach in Thailand, he's on the good shit. Secondly, Gaethje's one punch away from being like where he can't even fucking say his own name. And I just don't see how he's going to be able to stay upright this time. I'm playing Fiziev in all my high stakes or like anything that's $1,000 and up. I'm playing Fiziev in those teams. I think he wins. I think he wins big. I think it's violent. I think Gaethje will have to do some real soul searching after this one if he ends up back in the hospital, which is what I foresee happening. I know a lot of big time Gaethje fans out there. I like him too. He's been in some, like, I mean, not necessarily as a personality, but his fighting style and all the great entertainment he's given us over the years. But I think he's cooked.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously he's produced a ton of, like, his name is the highlight, right? He's produced a ton of highlights, but that's like not great for your longevity or durability. And he's getting up there, man. Yeah, I think this is like another Bobby Green situation. It's like you suffered a life-altering knockout recently, and now your durability is just completely gone.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah, he's the most durable guy in the world. Now we're questioning his durability.
Yeah. Brutal sport.
All right. That leads us into the main event. Alex Pereira against Magomed Ankalaev. Pereira coming in -118, Ankaliev -102. This fight originally opened with Ankaliev as a substantial favorite around -170 before coming back down to about even where it is now. We know you love Alex Pereira. Give us your take on why he's going to win.
He's an elite, violent, powerful striker. I know a lot of people who have picked Ankalaev are anticipating that he's just going to like easily wrestle the shit out of Pereira, which I think, for one, Ankalaev's wrestling is a bit overrated just because he doesn't use it. Like,
he's not a wrestler. He's not a wrestler by trade.
No, and he only uses it when he gets in trouble. Like, he's capable of it, but it's not a main facet of his game. And I think he's going to come in, and I think he's actually going to try and stand with Pereira. And I think that's a huge fucking mistake. It's pretty simple to me. Even if he does try to get the wrestling and grappling going, I think Pereira, again, like defensively in the wrestling and grappling, I think he's a bit underrated. Like, I think he's good enough first layer takedown defense to like stop early attempts. If he does get taken down, I think he's good enough to stay safe and get up. And anytime it's on the feet, I just think he's massively going to be outmatching Ankalaev, especially like specifically Ankalaev just has never learned how to defend a low kick. And we all know like Alex Pereira's low kicks are like he uses them to great effect before ultimately like he uses them to hobble you and then he fucks you up. So that's exactly how I see this one playing out.
I agree with you that I think Ankalaev is going to try and keep it on the feet more than wrestle. I think I have a little more faith in Ankalaev's striking than you do. He's proven to be very, very, very good with his striking. Both of these guys fought Jan Blachowicz. They both were very lackluster against Jan Blachowicz. I think Pereira lost that fight against Jan Blachowicz. Pereira's wrestling defense has obviously improved from there, but Jan is not known as a wrestler either. And he was able to easily grapple him for the better part of 3 rounds. Ankalaev, I think, could do the same thing. But I also believed that Yuri could do that. And Yuri was able to do it for precisely 1 round the first time before he got fucking destroyed. Is Ankalaev's wrestling better than Yuri? I don't think so. I think it's probably similar. He's a lot more technical of a striker, so I don't see him leaving himself open to get knocked out. I think Ankalaev's best path is obviously going to be a decision because Pereira is such low volume and relies on his power to win. So if Ankalaev is able to stay away from him, and jab and shoot takedowns when he needs to and play it safe rather than trying to chase a finish, that is how I see Ankalaev winning this fight.
Yeah, and at his price, that'll probably be over the course of 5 rounds. Like that's probably good enough to hit the optimal. Yeah. There's quite a bit of downside risk on the Pereira side, though. Like as you mentioned,
he just doesn't throw any volume.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're getting there, like there's definitely you can find yourself in a situation where you get like a 4th round finish that doesn't score shit. Even a 3rd round finish could be like not so great. We did see Pereira let his hands go and throw a bit more volume against Roundtree, but Roundtree was just kind of there to be hit, like human punching bag style. Ankalaev's not going to do that. I have so much faith in Pereira's striking, and I just think that like I know Ankalaev is also a powerful striker, but I just rate Pereira so much higher, and I think it's mostly going to play out on the feet. I mean, I'm also going to be playing like a healthy amount of Ankalaev because the case for Ankalaev that I've heard lay out is he's just so much better in the wrestling and grappling that he's going to dominate him on the mat and then finish him, which I don't think is going to happen. But like, who knows? Maybe.
Yeah,
it's very possible.
I think it's more likely that he just happens to win a striking battle than it is that he wrestles.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing that as well.
So, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very, very interested in that fight. I'm not as confident in my side with Ankalaev as I am with some of the other fights. Like Fiziev, like I think Fiziev's going to kill him. I really love that. But Ankalaev and Pereira, it's a true flip to me. I think it's going to be close. Oh, I mean, at least it'll look close until one of them gets knocked the fuck out. But yeah.
This was projecting to be owned by 80% of the field. I'm playing 100% of it. Like I know 5-round fights have been busting. It's been painful for me, but I'm just gonna keep going with it, man. I'm gonna stick to the process and just hope that that 20% of the field is wrong.
Yeah, I'm playing it 100% too. I'm playing it about 50-50 down the middle in terms of which person I take. My high stakes lineup has Magomed Ankalaev just because of pricing needs at the top to get Carlos Leal in there. But, I was fiddling around with Pereira teams. I'm definitely not opposed to playing Pereira. I agree with this. Pereira can be hurt. And definitely. The other part that we haven't mentioned is that Pereira's fought like 100 times in the past year. And in that last fight against Roundtree, he kind of got beat up a little bit.
He got buzzed, and then Roundtree just let him off the hook, which
right.
I think we had Roundtree by KO in that fight too.
Yeah, that would have been sick. That would have been so sick.
But, I thought we had it. I was like, get him.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen real quick, and we'll go through a pick 6, then we'll get our favorite bets, and then we'll get out of here. All right, let's see here. Share screen. All right. You can see my $15 in my account. That's how much money I'm risking on the UFC. All right. We'll start with pick one. I'll start so you can kind of like eyeball what I'm getting after here. With these, I am going to go with Ignacio Bahamondes over 55.5 significant strikes, considering I think the fight's going to go to decision.
I can't see this shit. I got full screen.
You want strikes? You want takedowns? You want fight time?
I don't know. I've never looked at any of this shit before. I mean, fight time for Fiziev. Did we go under there?
Less. Okay. So less than a minute or 2:30 or 3:30 in round 3. Damn. Really? Yeah. That looks like
can't see the prices over here.
Yeah.
You can't see the price until you click on it, right?
Say that again?
You can't see like I have no idea how pick six work.
Oh, yeah. You can see how much you're going to win in the bottom here. And you pick every time you pick one, you get a multiplier, and it's entered in contests against other people. And based on whether or not your pick is common or not, you get higher payouts if you hit them all.
Okay.
All right. I'm going with here. We'll go to fantasy points. That'll be a good one. Let's go with Joshua Van under 90.5 on the fantasy points. All right. You gotta look at these.
I'm looking at them. What about Saruya over 62.5? Let's get that first round finish or second round finish.
Yeah, Saruya over 62.5. Can we pair that with Van? It's looking like we can. Okay. Oh, we can only take the over because you can't take them both under. I got it. Got it. Next, we will go with some control time. And I'm going to go with Curtis Blades under 3:30 control time because he's going to win in the first round. And you want to look at takedowns, control time? You got anything you want to look at?
Let's do takedowns.
Takedowns. Those are the 3 options.
Okay. And you can only do more on Saruya. How many is it for Marshall?
1.5.
1.5. I think less, man. I think less.
All right. Max of 6 picks reached. So this pays out at least 15-1 if we hit all 6. So if you put $10 in, you're guaranteed to get at least 150 back, possibly more based on how many people take the picks. So I will post this on Twitter so everybody can tail if they're looking to tail. Let's go through our favorite bets. What is your number one favorite bet on the card? Go.
Alex Pereira.
Money line?
Yep.
Pereira money line. I'm going with Rafael Fiziev money line minus 162 on DraftKings.com, DKNG.co/RPS, official DraftKings partner. Well, I think that's it. You ready for the fights?
Yeah, man. Fuck yeah. The last week's card was like
I'm very excited for this one. I'm very, very excited for this one. So
dude, last week was so bad. The week before that, kind of like it's not even that the whole of the cards have been bad. They've just been ending on like these super
flop.
Yeah, just like anticlimactic notes of like eye pokes and weird finishes and just
I don't think we're getting that here.
No, fuck no. I think we're getting another Pereira.
Yeah, you got all the boring shit happening. You call in Alex Pereira to fucking change it.
What's that?
I said you get all the boring shit happening and you call in Alex Pereira to change things.
Dude, he's been like the savior of the company for the last 2-3 years now.
Oh yeah. Okay, sorry. We gotta do the seppuku bet.
What is that?
Where you have to commit seppuku if it happens.
If it happens?
Yeah. Like the thing that you think is not gonna happen.
The thing I think that is not gonna happen.
Like this guy's saying Morono KO TKO.
Yeah, that's a good one. Morono. Yeah, or either like I don't know, man. That's like the best one, the Morono TKO. Probably Bobby Green TKO.
Say that again.
Is even Gutierrez and Castaneda canceled.
Canceled.
No, it is.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, Gutierrez and Castaneda.
Oh, Well, Gutierrez and Castaneda canceled. That fight sucked anyway.
All right, we're down to 11.
I thought you were saying that was your Sabugu boy. All right. Well, all that we said about Gutierrez and Castaneda, throw it out the window. Although they may fight next week. Yeah, my Seppuku play of the week definitely gonna be Joshua Van scoring over 110 DFS points.
Oh yeah, that would be terrible. Okay, I think I understand the Seppuku play now. Justin Gaethje is
Justin Gaethje knockout. Yeah,
yeah. That would be really bad for me.
All right. So for Dan, for me, everybody enjoy the fights. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you later.
Peace.